Nevada, the great silver state and the gold. New tales of Nevada, the stories, people working hard to make a home. Old tales of Nevada.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Old Tales of Nevada, Past and Present. Glad to have you with us this week. We have a great show in store. We're going to be talking with one of the legends in the news business right here in Reno, Nevada. So stay tuned. We'll have the whole story for you right after this.
Hi, I'm Howe Marshall from the Marshall Mint, Virginia City and Reno, Nevada. I'm to introduce you to the Let 'em Run Wild Horse Mustang series, which depicts the wild Mustangs herd running free, mare and its foal, the wild Mustangs fighting for love. These ingots are a limited edition double-struck product on 1 troy ounce 3-pine silver and are only available at the Marshall Mint, Virginia City or Reno, Nevada. Get your piece of history today.
All of us at Shoeman's Custom Cycle are ready to get you and your Harley ready for the road. From oil and tire changes to high-performance engine upgrades and dyno tuning, we at Shoeman's have got you covered with experienced factory-certified mechanics and a full-service machine shop loaded with parts and accessories. Shoeman's Custom Cycle has been serving Northern Nevada since 1988. So ride on down to Shoeman's Custom Cycle at 275 East 4th Street in downtown Reno.
Shoeman's Custom Cycle, we're the biker's bike shop.
Welcome, everybody, to Old Tales of Nevada, Past and Present. I'm John O'Brien, the host of the show. And with me, as usual, is Howe Marshall, our executive producer. He's the one that talked us all into doing this show about the history of Nevada. Glad to have you with us, Howe, as usual. Our special guest today, I'm really honored to have him with us, is John Howe. And as I mentioned in the tease, he is a legend in the news business here in the Northern Nevada area, actually in the state of Nevada, because he started in Vegas. But John was the news director at KOLO TV for many years, and so many great stories happened while he was there. And so we want to welcome you to the show, and we look forward to your story here on Old Tales of Nevada. So just stay patient for a few minutes, John, and we're going to go to Howe here, and he's going to tell us why we do the show. So, Howe?
You betcha. Yeah, we do this show to inform people about why the state of Nevada is such an important state in the United States. And we all make a mark on the earth, some of us deeper and some of us not so deep. But the recordings, of course, all those markings come into play with our media and our TV and your little phone you have and all the other kind of things you're getting it off of.
That's right.
So it is very important to us humans to have this going on, and we're doing the same thing with the history of Nevada.
Yes.
Telling you guys, if it wouldn't have been for this state, we may be faster in England, because we, after the Civil War, didn't have enough money to pay our bills at all.
That's right. Therefore, it came from
and
Nevada.
They helped us a whole bunch. France, Germany, later.
Yeah, later.
Also.
Yeah. And
they've been our great allies to what degree it could be.
Yeah. So we have a great mission statement here from Nevada. Now, we always like to ask you what you're up to up there on the Comstock.
Oh,
yeah. We, they used to call it the Comstock load. We call it the Marshall load now, right?
Well, we probably have found the largest platinum deposit in the world up at Virginia City, and it's occurring in all different sizes, which in many cases can be as big as about a baby's head to, let's say, a rat's head.
Yeah. So
lots of it has gold in it as well as a platinum.
Yeah, show that to John. Show him that gold piece there. Yeah, so that's different from your placer gold finds, because that's more in a granular form. This comes in chunks. Right?
Yeah, but that came right out of the clay.
Right out of the clay. Wow, that's amazing. So we're working hard to validate all of that to see really how much volume we have as far as platinum is concerned. So that's an ongoing process, and we're working with UNR a little bit, even to make it more important as you and I can help us with that.
As we get more information, we'll publicize it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So on your retail side, you also are very active. You have your hotel up there, the Silverland Inn and Suites.
Oh, yeah.
And how's the hotel doing?
It's doing a little better.
A little better than a charity now?
A little bit better.
A little bit better.
Not a whole lot, but a little bit.
But like you always say, great place to take your honey.
Oh, yeah.
And what's the reservation number up there?
847-4484.
All right. Now, the other great news is about the Marshall Mint.
Yeah, we're putting a Marshall Mint in Reno, Nevada.
Yeah.
Over at the Reno Town Mall.
Yeah.
And you can find good deals on estate jewelry there, as well as the coins we produce.
Yeah.
As well as what gemstones make up the jewelry that your wife is wearing.
Yeah,
so you can see what it looks like, where it comes from.
Yeah, you're going to do something similar to what you have here. You're going to have the raw material,
right.
And you'll be able to see what an opal looks like in its raw state, and then you can walk just through the door and see what it looks like in a setting when it's all polished up and pretty. So check it out. Right?
Yeah,
that's going to happen in October, I believe, right?
A lot of people don't know that even a simple piece of jewelry like this, which is rhodium, is one of our very rare metals.
Yeah, and you put that in a setting, huh?
Well, sure, a lot of people do. It's fairly common, but it's not very easy to find rhodonite, they call that.
Yeah, you find that on the Comstock? Or do you have to buy that from somewhere?
No, but we're finding it in rare, what we call element deposits.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, it's pretty, isn't it?
Yeah, it's got a kind of a pinkish tone to it. Yeah. What does something like that cost at the store?
Probably $50 or so.
Oh, that's nothing.
No, it's not enough.
It's probably not enough for most women, right, John? We want to spend more than that on them, right? So great. So you just keep busy up there.
Yep, that's what we're doing.
Keep finding that stuff up there, right? Well, listen, as I said earlier, I'm honored, and we are honored to have John Howe with us, because he is a legend in the news business here in Northern Nevada. I know you chuckle about that, but it's even a little intimidating for me to sit here and interview him, because he used to critique all these guys that work for him and tell them what kind of job he did, So
I prefer the word dinosaur, because that's what I am in this business.
We're all getting that way, John, real fast. But you were there for many years. Actually, from 1974 onward through early 90, right?
I don't even remember it
it's been so
anymore,
long
and that's just fine with me.
But
it was a long time.
Yeah, let's talk about your beginnings, though. Where are you from originally?
I'm an Oregonian.
Oregonian, okay. What town in particular?
Born and raised in Portland.
Portland, big city.
One of the best reasons we have for not living there anymore is that it rains so much.
That's right.
That's what makes it so tall and green.
Yes, beautiful.
And beautiful. I got out of high school and walked into a job on the Oregonian, the big newspaper of the Northwest, as a copy boy. Because you'd needed no training, and I was starry-eyed in one of those big newsrooms full of clacking typewriters and reporters, and it was described as noisy and dirty, and that's exactly what it was like.
That's the way you wanted it to be, right?
Exactly the way we wanted it.
Very vibrant atmosphere.
Ran with messages up and down the stairs into the composing room, and it was a heavy industrial business, and still is.
Yeah.
And I'm glad to have my morning paper.
You still get the morning paper.
I certainly.
It's a lot smaller and thinner than what it used to be, right?
Television has made real inroads
for sure
on newspapers, and I think it's kind of a shame. People should be reading more deeply about the things that are happening in their community.
Yeah, I think that's kind of a lost art, unfortunately. So you started out in newspaper, and how long did you stay with the newspaper business?
A year and a half, and I didn't have any money for college, but it turned out that the Air Force would make a home for me for the next 4 years.
Oh, great. What did you do in the Air Force?
I flew a typewriter on the ground, and it takes a good many hundred people on the ground to keep one in the air.
Wow.
I spent 3 years in Japan, a beautiful place with beautiful people, and enjoyed every minute of it except being 5,000 miles from home every Christmas.
Yeah. I was in the Philippines in the Air Force, Clark Air Base. You're probably familiar with that.
I know
base.
about it.
Yeah, I was a fireman when I was in the Air Force. So anyway, that's good to hear. So you got through that in 4 years, didn't become a lifer. You just put in your 4 years and went on. So did you get into electronic media at that point or what?
Not right away, but Congress fortunately passed the Korean GI Bill, and that meant that guys like me could now get 4 years of college paid for under the GI Bill.
Wonderful.
That was good.
And that was where I spent my next 4 years.
What college did you go to?
A college called Lewis and Clark College in Portland on a beautiful green mountain just outside of town.
Super.
And it was, I majored in psychology. I don't know why.
That comes real handy in the media, let me tell you.
It can do, but you also have to have a lot of sympathy while you're doing it.
Yeah.
But I had been interested in news. I'd been a copy boy. I'd been interested in photography, too. Mm-hmm. So when I got out of college, my first job was in television. Television news was in its infancy.
Okay.
It was present the news from the paper that you had on the air, and that was pretty much what it was. It was to go through still pictures and silent film and sound film and color film as the years went on. Unfortunately, that's the position I was in when we finally made our way to Reno. And it's easier thought of than done.
Yeah.
There have to be reporters out there on the street, reporter photographers with film cameras. Not anymore. You had to bring the film back to the shop before deadline time. It had to be processed by a guy in the back room.
I know.
Mixed all kinds of expensive chemicals and ran it through this big $20,000 machine.
I'm familiar with that.
So it came out, and then you, the reporter or the editor, had to edit that film.
Right.
Amazing the skills you can learn broadcasting, and then it went on the air.
Yeah. That you bring.
Probably a lot of people don't know that.
Yeah, no, I'll tell you, we don't have time to talk about it on this.
To start with, and then got on the TV.
Yeah. So you went from Fresno to Vegas to Reno to Channel 8. Let's take a break here, and we'll come back. And I want to reminisce a little bit about that 16-millimeter film because I was in sales and we had to use it for commercial content too, and that was quite the process. So anyway, we'll come back after this break and hear from a couple of our sponsors and talk more with John Howe, former news director at one of the great stations in town, KOLO-TV.
Hey everyone, Dave Asher here introducing you to our new store, the Nevada Marketplace, in the Reno Town Mall. Anchored with the Buy Nevada First gift shop, we've added over 60 micro shops, giving locals a place to set up their dream store. We are now 20,000 square feet strong, supporting over 250 local merchants with all things made in Nevada and more. We have more locals in one place than anywhere in the state, ready to help you find that perfect gift. We're open every day with easy parking at Peckham and Virginia. Go to buynevadafirst.com, your source for all things local.
Hi, I'm Paula.
And I'm Dan. We're the producers of the Tanner's Marketplace Antiques and Craft Shows at the Livestock Event Center on Wells Avenue.
I'd also like to tell you about our everyday location. We're at Somewhere in Time on South Virginia Street. We're Antique Antiques, booth number 46.
You'll find paintings by Nevada artists, collectible glass, vintage jewelry, Native American jewelry and baskets, antiques and unusual to unique items.
Find it all at Antique Antiques inside Somewhere in Time at 1313 South Virginia Street.
Come see us.
Somewhere in Time is the place to find what will be treasured for all time. Die-cast models, vintage and antique furniture, Fenton glassware, toy trains, neon, home decor, unusual collections throughout the store at Somewhere in Time in Reno. Somewhere in Time is the place to find what will be treasured for all time. Die-cast models, vintage and antique furniture, Fenton glassware, toy trains, neon, home decor, unusual collections throughout the store at Somewhere in Time in Reno.
There's never been a female elected sheriff of Washoe County, and I believe it's time. I'm a retired sheriff's office captain with 26 years experience, 20 of those years in leadership positions. I have more earned leadership experience than anyone else in the race, male or female. Sex trafficking, mental health, overcrowded jails, domestic violence, substance use disorders impact our community. I understand our needs and will implement programs that work. I'm Heidi Howe, open to the future, not stuck in the past.
We're back here with our show, Old Tales of Nevada, past and present. Glad to have you with us today with our show with our special guest, John Howe, who spent many years as news director at KOLO TV. And I kind of misspoke in the last segment because you had many more stops. It wasn't just Portland, Fresno, Vegas, Reno. You had about 10 more in between, didn't you?
There were a bunch because broadcasting in those days, and to a considerable extent these days, a job where young people start out in a small community and move out to move up.
Yeah.
And that was what many of us did. It was Medford, Oregon, Roseburg, Oregon. That was radio only.
Yeah.
Portland, the big market,
yeah.
Radio again, and I was in my native home. Then Chico, California, then Fresno, California, then Las Vegas, Nevada, and finally Reno, where my family and I decided was the place to stop.
All right, very good. As many of our people do on the show, they come to Reno and they look at the valley and they say, this is the place I want to be. You were talking about news production and how we used to shoot stories. Well, I was in the sales side of TV back in the early days because I started at TV it was 1985. I went to it was before that. It was 76 I went to TV. And in those days, they didn't have digital cameras, okay? It was all 16 millimeter film. And you had people who would go out and shoot a commercial, take the footage, and then they'd bring it back. And all I remember is this big, long table. And a guy in commercial production studio, he would have a razor blade, and he'd look at the different frames, and he'd go like that, right? And then he'd take the pieces he wanted, and he'd splice it all together. Remember that? And they'd make a 30-second commercial out of it. You probably did the same thing, right?
Very well, because we did exactly the same thing with news film.
Yeah.
It was a little more sophisticated. There was a splicer in front of you on that big, long table, and you put the pieces of film together, cut it, scrape off the emulsion, glue it, and slam the thing down, and it was heated.
Yeah.
And then in just a few seconds, you had spliced it. And on the projector or on the air, you couldn't tell the difference from one scene to the other.
Yeah, no, they did a great job at that.
But everybody had to do it.
Yeah.
News reporters, editors.
Sure.
Sales and production people. That, by the way, we should remember, sales is where the money is.
Yes,
not in news.
Yes. I'll have to agree with that. That's why Estate and Sales never got on the air. But news people put in tremendous number of hours. People don't realize that 11, 12, 13-hour days isn't unusual for a news person. And the thing is, Roy, they were paid on a salary, not an hourly basis.
Yeah.
So the station
kept
really
on working.
They kept on working. So they got a good deal for every news person they had there. So anyway, you came in 1974. Channel 2 was kind of the big kahuna as far as news was concerned back in those days. So you had a real challenge to take that Channel 8 station and make it important. And so what are some of the quick moves that you made as far as personnel and as far as anchors and that sort of thing that made you better?
That's actually exactly what had to be done. I came up, I knew some of the people already because I'd worked for the Don Ray Media Group station in Las Vegas, so I knew a lot of the people. At that time, we were actually to the level of color film, sound on the film, so you did
technology
an
on the
interview and moving from that into videotape, which had all the same elements, but didn't have to be processed through chemicals. And easier to edit. Now they've even left videotape behind.
Yeah, there is none.
It's I don't even understand the system.
It's all digital. It's all digital
anymore, and very easy. To handle.
Remember the big tape machines they used to have in the control room? These big round wheels full of videotapes with all the commercials.
The tape was 2 inches wide, and it could be sliced and like film was.
Exactly.
What we had to do here, and we graduated to color on news film. We graduated to color in the studio. So Tad Dunbar was in color, then the news film was in color, and then the sports were in color. But it still had to be done in a day and put together by 5:30 when the first newscast started. 6 o'clock, and depending on where your early news fell, and then again at 7 o'clock at night. Not even talking about early morning.
Show you had to do.
You mentioned Channel 2. A man who became my close friend, Ed Pierce, and is still the finest reporter in the state of Nevada, was news director and anchor at Channel 2 in Reno, and led in the ratings. And it took us 3 years, even with Tad Dunbar, to beat those ratings. It took a few new. You were right. I had to hire some new people and train them, because in broadcasting, young people have to start at a small station and move out to move up. So you were always kind of looking for new employees. This is a painful part of it. You lose very good people. And they go on to larger cities like Sacramento or San Francisco. I could take people from Twin Falls, Idaho, Eureka, California, where Erin Breen came from, and she served us very well. Even became a co-anchor with Tad. Now she's in Ireland getting her she's got her master's degree and is going for a what's the next one?
Doctor's.
Well,
isn't that wonderful?
She'll be Dr. Breen, and has a column weekly in the Sunday Gazette about life in Ireland, and she's having a wonderful time doing that.
Isn't that fortunate for you? It's fortunate for you to have been able to garner talent like Tad, Ed Pierce, Erin Breen, because they are very talented, good writers, and they were good presenters on air, and to keep them in town. You know, like you say, a lot of people jumped out of the local broadcast stations to go to San Francisco. I remember Phoenix used to be real hot when I was at Channel 8. People were moving to Phoenix to get on air. And there was a gal named Prickle, I think is her name, and she is down in Phoenix as an anchor on one of the major stations. And she started at KOL.
And will probably stay in Phoenix, big market and a nice place to live.
Absolutely,
and I'm sure they will do that. We were very fortunate that Tad Dunbar, always a leader in the ratings, always popular in the community, because he liked Reno and was content to stay here. Otherwise, we would have lost him to some large city station. Great writer, great sense of humor, which means he can keep your interest on during a newscast. The other people we had, sports and weather, we were very fortunate in the people we put in those jobs and trained up. Sam Shadd's another one. A series of sports directors who usually went to bigger jobs and were very popular in the area.
I was going to ask you, as far as bringing Erin on as co-anchor, that wasn't the norm. Early on, it used to have, for example, Tad by himself giving the news. And what motivated you then to bring on the female anchor in Erin Breen's?
Double anchors became the norm. It was done first in stations like San Francisco and Los Angeles.
Okay.
And probably Sacramento and Portland. At first, it was 2 guys. And that's what we did in Las Vegas. Fred Lewis and I co-anchored the evening news. Pretty soon, we realized one of them should be a woman, and the women needed the opportunity. They also needed the example of women achieving, and Erin was one of those. Earlier than that, people won't remember Roz Perry, but she was here when I came up to take over from Las Vegas. He eventually left the business, which was a shame. Yeah. Because you're a very good writer, very smooth on the air, and a beautiful blonde.
Oh, really? Super. You could pick out those too. That's great. Yeah.
I wasn't lucky enough to hire her, but others I were, and just about all of those people. Say there were 6 of us in the department when I came up from Las Vegas. There were probably 25 when I retired.
Yeah, it was a pretty good-sized crew. You know, it's interesting, too, as I think about the old news, where your office was, and the bullpen is what I call it. There were no computers back in those days. It was all done on typewriter, so it was very noisy back there. And if a sales guy would walk anywhere close to the entrance to that newsroom, they would shoo you away because they thought you were going to create some mischief, right, John?
Admittedly, I have to say that is true.
I remember you looking at me odd when I was there. I said, that guy wants me to do something that I absolutely don't want to do, because they wanted to keep that, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, you wanted to keep that independence news versus retail sales. Didn't want that line to be crossed.
You are correct.
Yeah, see? So I'm very observant.
you are correct.
Okay. So listen, we have to take another break. Fabulous conversation. Next break, next segment, I want to talk about the major stories that you covered, including the burning down of KOLO TV on 5th Street in Reno. So let's get some messages here out, and we'll be back with more Old Tales in Nevada right after this.
Soft pastels have arrived at Boutique Elegante. Wonderful sweaters, tunics, and capris create that special look. The colors of summer in fabulous combinations, this and so much more at Boutique Elegante. Soft pastels have arrived at Boutique Elegante. Wonderful sweaters, tunics, and capris create that special look. The colors of summer in fabulous combinations, this and so much more at Boutique Elegante.
Hi, I'm Chris from Past Time at Somewhere in Time. Are you looking for that one-of-a-kind gift that you can't find in the big department store? I have something for all occasions. Got stuff? Need to know whether or not it has value or how to sell it? We can help with that too. Come and see me Tuesday or Wednesday at Past Time in Somewhere in Time at 1313 South Virginia Street in Reno. Just ask for Chris.
Deluxe Travel, locally owned and operating since 1991, is the home for travel to Mexico and Central and South America. The crew at Deluxe Travel is bilingual, trustworthy, thorough, and caring. They will do everything possible to make your dream vacation the best it can be. Now is the time to book for winter travel, so stop by the office at 100 California Avenue or call 686-7000. You can also check us out on our website at deluxetravelLTD.com.
At Deluxe Travel, we sell dreams. Come in and plan yours.
Hi, I'm Paula.
And I'm Dan. We're the producers of the Tanner's Marketplace Antiques and Craft Shows at the Livestock Event Center on Wells Avenue.
I'd also like to tell you about our everyday location. We're at Somewhere in Time on South Virginia Street. We're Antique Antiques, booth number 46.
You'll find paintings by Nevada artists, collectible glass, vintage jewelry, Native American jewelry and baskets, antiques and unusual to unique items.
Find it all at Antique Antiques inside Somewhere in Time at 1313 South Virginia Street.
There's never been a female elected sheriff of Washoe County, and I believe it's time. I'm a retired sheriff's office captain with 26 years experience, 20 of those years in leadership positions. I have more earned leadership experience than anyone else in the race, male or female. Sex trafficking, mental health, overcrowded jails, domestic violence, substance use disorders impact our community. I understand our needs and will implement programs that work. I'm Heidi Howe, open to the future, not stuck in the past.
All right, we're back here on Old Tales of Nevada, Past and Present. Just let me reintroduce everybody. I'm John O'Brien, the host of the show. Roy Marshall, our executive producer, and the guy with the great idea to do the show. And our special guest, as we said, honored to have him with us today, John Howe, who is really a pioneer in TV broadcasting and a great news director at KOLO TV for many years, and covered a lot of great stories during the time you were news director. Before we get to those stories, though, you wanted to make one more mention about your move from California to Reno. Why don't you tell us about that, and then we'll get into some of the stories.
That covers a couple of great stories. I was in Chico, California, a nice little town that I enjoyed.
Been there?
Got promoted to Fresno because the same company owned those stations at the time. And I covered the gubernatorial race between Pat Brown and Paul Laxalt. Pat Brown was going for a third term. Powerful, huge man. He was just big all over.
Sure, I remember seeing
in California, and he traveled everywhere. He would. And the press always knew where he was going. I'm thinking about one of the last appearances he made before I moved to Las Vegas was in this race, Brown versus Reagan and Laxalt versus Sawyer. Well, here was Pat Brown, very popular with the people and the voters, and Ronald Reagan, who had never run for public office before,
upstart,
but had been a host on a television show called Covered Wagon Days.
Oh, okay.
Brown had power. He came to Fresno and was speaking at the Del Webb Hotel there, and typically he came out of a big limousine. There's a V shape of guys ahead of him coming in like this, and people all around him. It's Governor, Governor. And I knew I wanted to get my requesting for an interview, and I said, Governor John Howe, Channel 47, I want to interview you. Yeah, I want to talk about my speech. Yes, that's fine. And zip, on he went. I did get the interview eventually. Switched to Las Vegas, Nevada. I was news director there. Las Vegas is a nice town, too. Some people can live there. I had to tell people we have schools and churches in Las Vegas.
They didn't believe it.
And I met Governor Laxalt on his inaugural day in Las Vegas. In Carson City, we had a hookup between Channel 8 here and Channel 3 in Las Vegas, both owned by the same company, and could broadcast state to state. I went out to the airport because that's McCarran Airport, set up my camera because we were a one-man crew then. We all could use the camera, we all could do interviews.
Yeah.
And the airplane lands, the ladder comes down, and here comes Governor Laxalt all by himself. Nobody else around.
Oh.
Who's there to meet him? One trooper from the Nevada Highway Patrol and a patrol car.
Oh.
That was there.
That was it.
To pick him up. Contrast that with California.
Oh, yeah.
I went up to him, reminded him who I was, said, can we get an interview? And I knew the things I wanted to talk to him about. And I had the camera on a tripod set up so I could turn it on, run around in front of it. We did a lot of stand-uppers in those days.
Yeah.
And he was very glad to do the interview. And I did the interview, but first I had to untangle my microphone cord. The governor of Nevada helped me untangle my microphone cord.
What a difference.
We did the interview. He was very much a gentleman.
Yeah.
He was noted that always the Western gentleman.
Wow.
And I realized that this old-fashioned rig I was using had several switches, and I had failed to turn on one of those switches. I got no interview. Had a picture but no sound. And he was about to go to the patrol car, and I said, I'm going to do this. Ran over to him and says, Governor, I had a little trouble with the sound. Can we do this over? Why, sure. That was Paul Laxalt.
That's Nevada.
In fact, all of our governors have been easy people
compared to the Californians. Yeah, they're celebrities.
We redid the interview. That was my first major assignment.
Wonderful.
In Nevada.
Yeah.
And Nevada has, again, Nevada's people are different, as you mentioned.
Exactly,
before.
they are. Yeah.
So, 8 years in Las Vegas, up to Reno, a place that we love very much because it's so much more fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, as news director during those years from the 74 on, a lot of big stories happened here. One, very personal to you and to the station, happened in, what year was that, 1976? During a newscast there.
That's right.
Yeah, and you're sitting there on 5th Street near the overpass, as I understand, 2-story building. And you had people like Tad Dunbar in those days. Jeannie Baxter was in the sales department, I understand.
Jim Stone was the sports director.
Okay.
Very popular.
Okay.
Yeah.
So anyway, they're starting the news. It's about 6:35 p.m. On a weekday. And tell us what transpired.
I was across the street at Motel 6. I had gone there to greet my brand new hire from the Midwest. Nice young man. I was hiring him as a reporter / 11 o'clock anchor. Again, we all did several jobs. And I went across there. He was with his family, a couple of young kids, in the hotel room on the 2nd floor, in full view of the Channel 8 studios on 5th Street. And we thought all of a sudden nothing was going on in the newscast. And suddenly someone said, "Cut. Let's get the hell out of here." We turned around and looked across, and the fire was just coming through the roof.
Whoa. My goodness.
Can you imagine what this young man and his family felt? He'd just come 2,000 miles to a new job. We were on the air in 2 days.
You were? Wow.
Yes. We still owned a station in Las Vegas. We had them play films and some of our other programs. It was a CBS station, and we were ABC.
Okay.
But we picked up most of the programming from Las Vegas.
Super.
And did the rest from a studio we quickly put together in a rented bank building on Vassar Street.
Yeah, I heard you were on Vassar Terminal. Is that where U.S. Bank is now?
Yes.
Okay, right in front
fact,
of the
it was part of the bank at that time.
Oh, okay.
But they weren't using it all.
Oh, sure. Okay.
It was an amazing experience, believe me, John.
Yeah. Well, nobody got hurt, hopefully, in that building, but it basically burned that thing down.
To the ground.
Yeah. How many times does that ever happen? See, today, if that would happen, Roy, they'd call it a terrorist attack.
Probably, yeah.
But that's quite the story. Ted Dunbar was there. Jeannie Baxter was there. Some of the great names in our town.
Jeannie was a saleswoman, saleswoman.
Saleswoman,
and
yeah.
very effective,
yeah.
but also very personable.
Yes.
Not like what you think of salespeople.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, John.
She became, well, we were personable, but we were always out to make the sales. So we were kind of driven. But she became owner of Ethan Allen Furniture. Her husband, her family, and I think they still run it over there. I
believe so.
Along with the Bassett Furniture Store. Little plug for them. But had great people at the station. Now, along the way, there was some other great stories that you covered. One being the air crash of the
Galaxy air crash.
Yeah. How did that? Tell us about that story.
It was an even bigger surprise than burning down our station.
I would imagine so.
It was early in the morning. there had been a big sporting event. I can't remember
Super
what.
Bowl, I believe it was, yeah.
And a group of people from Minnesota had put together a junket and had flown out to Reno to observe the Super Bowl and the other hoopla that became a part of it. And they were on their way home. I don't remember how many passengers on the airplane, and of course a crew, but it was what you'd expect. And they took off early in the morning, and I happened to be, well, it was early Sunday morning, and I was in bed asleep. Mm-hmm. Beside my bed was what we called a monitor for our volunteer fire department, because it belonged to the volunteer fire department in our neighborhood north of town, where we lived. And I heard this call, and I heard one engine responding up on South Virginia Street, and heard the captain say, "Got a big column of black smoke." And I said, "Oh boy, this is
here we go."
So I started calling people, called Kirk Frosdick, my news desk, right? News, assignment editor.
Assignment editor, sure.
I'm trying to think of, because he signed everybody, and he got up. He called some contact of his and called me back and said, "It's an airliner right across Virginia Street."
Yeah, and just as a point of reference, that would be across the street from where the Home Depot is located now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm. I didn't go to the scene. I went to the station. I got Tad up. He came to the station. We started anchoring full-time coverage from the station, got cameras to the scene, and it was probably the most horrific story I've ever covered. Yeah. I didn't go to the scene. I was busy at the station, other people who did. And I remember a battalion chief from Truckee Meadows Fire Protection District halfway through this thing calling headquarters and saying, "Will you please get somebody out to help the people who are leaving this scene? They're very vulnerable right now," because you can imagine.
Oh, bodies everywhere.
Airplane came.
There was only
apart.
one survivor.
True.
And he was traumatized by the whole thing for sure. Well, listen, we're out of time, as you know, and we have to take a break in this business once in a while. So let's take a break, and you can finish that story. I have another question about another story I want to ask you about. So we'll be back with more Old Tales of Nevada right after this.
You have got to come and see our bridal designer collection here at Precision Diamonds. We bought our building, lower the overhead. That means everyday low prices to you.
Hey everyone, Dave Asher here, introducing you to our new store, the Nevada Marketplace, in the Reno Town Mall. Anchored with the Buy Nevada First gift shop, we've added over 60 micro shops, giving locals a place to set up their dream store. We are now 20,000 square feet strong, supporting over 250 local merchants with all things made in Nevada and more. We have more locals in one place than anywhere in the state, ready to help you find that perfect gift. We're open every day with easy parking at Peckham and Virginia. Go to buynevadafirst.com, your source for all things local.
Somewhere in Time is the place to find what will be treasured for all time. Die-cast models, vintage and antique furniture, Fenton glassware, toy trains, neon, home decor, unusual collections throughout the store at Somewhere in Time in Reno. Somewhere in Time is the place to find what will be treasured for all time. Die-cast models, vintage and antique furniture, Fenton glassware, toy trains, neon, home decor, unusual collections throughout the store at Somewhere in Time in Reno.
All of us at Shoeman's Custom Cycle are ready to get you and your Harley ready for the road. From oil and tire changes to high-performance engine upgrades and dyno tuning, we at Shoeman's have got you covered with experienced factory-certified mechanics and a full-service machine shop loaded with parts and accessories. Shoeman's Custom Cycle has been serving Northern Nevada since 1988. So ride on down to Shoeman's Custom Cycle at 275 East 4th Street in downtown Reno.
Shoeman's Custom Cycle, with a biker's bike shop.
Deluxe Travel, locally owned and operating since 1991, is the home for travel to Mexico and Central and South America. The crew at Deluxe Travel is bilingual, trustworthy, thorough, and caring. They will do everything possible to make your dream vacation the best it can be. Now is the time to book for winter travel, so stop by the office at 100 California Avenue or call 686-7000. You can also check us out on our website at deluxetravelltd.com.
At Deluxe Travel, we sell dreams. Come in and plan yours.
You have got to come and see our bridal designer collection here at Precision Diamonds. We bought our building, lower the overhead. That means everyday low prices to you.
Soft pastels have arrived at Boutique Elegante. Wonderful sweaters, tunics, and capris create that special look. The colors of summer in fabulous combinations. This and so much more at Boutique Elegante. Soft pastels have arrived at Boutique Elegante. Wonderful sweaters, tunics, and capris create that special look. The colors of summer in fabulous combinations. This and so much more at Boutique Elegante.
All right, we're back here for our last segment of Old Tales of Nevada, Past and Present, and we're still talking with John Howe, who was the longtime news director at KOLO TV and did some great things over there and covered some wonderful stories, both good and bad, in political arena, just in life. We're just talking about the plane crash here in Reno, across the street from where Home Depot is right now. Actually, that's where Total Wine is. That's to be the exact location. And many people died in that wreck, except for one boy survived. Mm-hmm. And finish your story about that, as he went back to Minnesota, but then there was a return trip with news people and everything else to Reno. And tell us what happened with the coverage.
It's the only lighthearted part of this story at all. The Minneapolis Press was here to cover months later about the story, and some of the Minneapolis people who came back, including this teenage boy whose father had one of those who died. And a highly paid, beautifully coiffed reporter from Minnesota tried to interview the boy, and the boy said, "I know you. You're so-and-so from China," whatever, the big TV star from Minneapolis. He said, "I used to park cars at so-and-so's restaurant there." He says, and you came out of the restaurant one night, and I tried to talk to you, and you wouldn't talk to me, and he laughed. I don't remember what happened to the rest of the story, but the guy could not get an interview done.
He couldn't get.
Sadly enough, the grief was palpable, and I remember a battalion chief calling headquarters and saying, "Can you get some people down here to talk to the people who are leaving the scene? They are very much affected by this." Anyways, that was the main tone of that particular scene.
Yes,
very
what
tragic.
a traumatic experience for everybody there. That was one of the sad, tragic stories in the history of Reno. The other one that was very, very in the news and very tragic, and a forerunner to some of the terrorist attacks we see today, involved a person named Priscilla Ford. And tell us what happened with that particular story.
I don't remember what Priscilla Ford was doing in Reno, but she had been a fairly high-ranking executive at some Eastern university.
Oh, I did not know that.
She was not just any woman off the street.
Oh, I did not know that.
And she was in town. Something flipped in her mind, and on Thanksgiving Day, she drove a big car, probably a Cadillac.
I heard it was a Cadillac, yeah.
Down Virginia Street through the crowds of people and aimed for the biggest crowds of people and killed, I don't remember how many. You may remember better than I do.
It was in the teens, wasn't it, at least?
Yes.
Yeah.
And got out of the car, and the police were grabbing her, and she said, "How many did I get?"
Ooh.
This was obviously a disturbed woman. It was a big story all over the country.
Yeah.
As if it bleeds, it leads. There's a motto in many stations.
Were you able to get a camera down there? How did you cover it?
Well, I didn't go to the scene. Again, I'm the guy back at the desk.
Right.
We covered it.
Yeah, you covered it. Yeah.
Very
Who was your
cover.
anchor down there? Who did you have reporting it? Do you recall?
I don't.
Was it Tad?
Tad was on the anchor desk.
Yeah.
I don't remember who
Maybe
was
Ed
on,
Pierce or somebody like
scene.
that, huh?
Not at that time.
Yeah.
She was taken away, a long, long trial. This unbelievable background came out.
Yeah.
And a man who had either been married to another university executive or a boyfriend, so forth, testified, but there wasn't anything they could do. She went to prison in Carson City, and a good many years later, she died.
Yeah. Wasn't she actually sentenced to death? Because it was an intentional act. And I thought she was supposed to go to the electric chair.
I don't remember whether it turned out first-degree murder or not.
Yeah,
but she didn't go to the chair. It was the gas chamber by that time.
Oh, by gas.
Anyway, and apparently remorseless.
Yeah, she never regretted what she did. It's really strange. I didn't know she was that accomplished as an educator. She was African American lady on top of that.
She was.
I remember that.
You remember that
She
story?
was, and it was again quite a big surprise to everyone what kind of a person she had been.
Yeah, to have that happen, amazing. And nobody ever found out what triggered it, huh? Is that the case? That
lots of stories were written on it, but
all guesswork. Just a thing. So similar to what happened down in Vegas with that shooter at that concert. They still haven't found out what motivated him to do what he did.
And probably never will.
Probably never will. Went to the grave with him. Yeah, for sure. Well, those were rather traumatic stories. What was your best feel-good story that you ever did?
Well, go back to politics.
Yeah,
A lot of those stories aren't that much fun, but again, they are. We had 2 U.S. senators, both Democrats, both long tenured and very popular, Howard Cannon and Alan Bible.
Oh, okay. Remember those names.
And they were, I had occasion to interview both of them several times. Alan Bible dated from the 30s and Howard Cannon from the 40s in Congress. And somebody at a big press conference asked Alan Bible, because he knew some of his, and again, very affable guy. You're perfect candidate, smiling, good-looking, fatherly, great.
Kind of like you, Roy, you mean.
Except he didn't have any
He didn't have a beard, yeah. They didn't wear beards in those days.
What do you know, Senator, about the old Pat McCarran machine? Pat McCarran was before all our times in the 30s. Very popular senator, and he's got an airport named after him and so forth. And what happened to all those people? And Alan Bible said, I think you're looking at the last remnant. brought down the house. Again, he was friendly to everybody. I don't know who voted against him. I don't know who voted for him, but he was that kind of a guy. And he certainly knew who the press was, and he treated us not only courteously, treated the press like friends, which is a good thing for a politician to do.
Yeah, for sure.
The other one at the same time was Howard Cannon. And he had, both were lawyers, of course, but Howard Cannon had been a pilot in World War II. Interesting job. He flew a glider carrying troops into Germany.
Wow.
And I interviewed him once when ABC News was presenting, not ABC News, was presenting The Winds of War, quite an encyclopedic series about leading up to and during World War II. Very good series. Everybody should have seen it. the mission of the glider pilots, they were towed by a larger airplane, and here's a bunch of troops on it. They weren't paratroopers. They didn't have to jump, and he would land it somewhere, cut loose from the tow plane, land it somewhere in a spot where they all survived, no problem there, and then they would scatter out and do their fight from the rear, whatever, in Germany. He and either his co-pilot or one crew member were not captured by the Germans. They made their way, I don't know how many weeks or months it took them, through the Low Countries, through Germany, back to a port, little-known city on the English Channel, where they hooked up with some freedom fighters who hooked them up with the English, who took them back. In other words, captured the whole blessed time. They slept in haystacks, and sometimes sympathetic civilians would hide them in a bedroom or something like that. Excuse me. And that was his story. These were a couple of very interesting guys.
Yeah, for sure.
They eventually left the Senate, but they were
great stories.
Very popular, very great. Our entire congressional delegation, 3 of them, 2 senators and our single congressman,
right,
Walter Bering, were all Democrats. Walter Bering had almost nothing to recommend him, but he had silver hair and he was a friendly guy. He had a campaign manager who had been an encyclopedia salesman, and the guy had met Walter Bering and said, I can sell this guy. If I can sell encyclopedias, I can sell this guy.
We're getting short on time, so let's,
You could have said anything about Howard Bering, that people loved him, they kept re-electing him. He wasn't particularly brainy or attractive. That's Nevada politics.
That is Nevada politics, and there's others too like that we know of that have happened here in Nevada politics. We don't have time to discuss it all. Well, John, it's just you're just a wealth of great stories and great experiences, and you've done so many good things for media here in Reno. You're a true broadcaster, an honest broadcaster, not a showy display of what you do, but everything you did was honest and beneficial for the Northern Nevada viewing audience, and we appreciate you very much. When I say you're a legend, you are, and you also have left a legacy for the young people to follow, so we appreciate that very much.
So I'm proud of what some of my employees have gone ahead.
That's right. You should be, absolutely. And where are we at on time, guys? We're wrapping it up. Okay. So we want to thank you, John, and we wish you the best in whatever else you decide to do. We want to thank our audience for being with us as well, and invite you to be back next week for another great episode of Old Tales of Nevada, Past and Present. In the meantime, for you, Roy, and for John, and for myself, we want to wish you a great Nevada day, and we'll see you next week on Old Tales of Nevada, Past and Present.